Welcome, I'm Lori Driscoll. I have Adam Sims here today from NBCU as part of the PwC Alumni Spotlight Series. Welcome, Adam. I'm so happy that you're here.
Happy to be here.
First question, Adam, I always think that our childhood somehow, whether we want them to or not, kind of inform either what we go into or how we show up. Tell us a little bit about the early years. It's always a great place to start.
My earliest years were actually spent on a llama farm in the state of Oregon. My father was a doctor with a thriving medical practice. So as a child, I had the opportunity to take on quite a bit of responsibility around the llamas and the land. And as part of that, I feel like there were a lot of experiences that have really created the kind of person that I am. I learned a tremendous life skill of breaking up fighting male llamas, right? That happens when you're working with these animals.
Would love to just hear, your experience with PW and how it helped you in terms of setting you up foundationally for what came next.
Yeah, great. So a couple things. So I went to Oregon State University, went from high school straight into Oregon State. And like many universities, Oregon State had great relationships. I was able to get a lot of exposure to the firms and understand that public accounting route, got to know the firms themselves, got to know sort of local clients and the local office culture, those things. And through that immersion, I was able to find out well before graduation, that Price Waterhouse was the place that I felt was best for me and what I was looking for in my career.
So you've worked for two very iconic brands afterwards. Tell us a little bit about what you did after PW.
Indeed, yeah. So I've been very fortunate, again, working for PwC and then move over to Nike. So in 1999, I started there, and what a journey. Over that time, worked in about a dozen different roles. I worked in corporate teams, I worked in domestic teams, international teams, global teams, and I was able to be there for nearly 2 decades of that experience. In 2019, started to think about what's next for me in my career, drummed up a conversation with NBC Universal, and then eventually they offered me a role to come work with them here based in LA. Their global distribution, their film and television studios. And so, opportunity for me to take on something pretty new and different, right? So different industry, different company, kind of all different people. And it was an interesting enough opportunity for me that I took the leap. And now for a little over 4 years, I've been working, in show business. Speaking
of which, so if we think about your day in and day out, what's that look like? What are you responsible for in terms of, delivery at the moment, performance for the business and the like?
So I'm what's called a group controller for NBC Universal. And the groups that I'm responsible for are the film and television studios, right? So how we create the content that consumers see, the movies, television shows, and you name it. And so ultimately the responsibility, right, for the financial statements, the controls, procedures and processes, policies around all that body of work. So my typical day is honestly about a lot of volume of things coming at me. We have not just existing operational things that we need to do on a constant basis, but we have functional strategies that we need to develop and deploy. We have business needs that are constantly coming at us. So my day, week, month, quarter, very much defined by everything that we need to do around that.
What did you learn over the years? Like if you broke it down into 1 or 2, 3 things that, about yourself, about the industries that you've worked in.
Yeah, a few times over the course of my career, I've ended up in situations where I had an opportunity to take a role that actually other people really didn't want. There's sort of unusual roles that have come up. A lot of times by coincidence, maybe they're technology-oriented roles. And so I ended up sort of taking a risk and taking those roles. And in that, I picked up some things I think that were really helpful for me. I got some unusual sort of experiences, built some skills that maybe weren't so typical of people with my background. I worked with people that I necessarily wouldn't have interacted with in other parts of the company and so on. So that was great.
What piece of advice would you have for people that are just getting started?
Yeah. So a couple things for sure. One that I received a little bit later in my career, but I think it applies to people that are starting out as well. Make sure, whether it's your immediate manager or even a more senior leader, build a relationship with that person. Talk to them about things like priorities and what deliverables should look like. And frankly, even ask them for advice that they have for you, because we all started out somewhere. So that's one piece. Second piece, bloom where you're planted. Really simple concept, but particularly when you're starting out, you're so ambitious, you're looking for that next thing and so on, driven. But you know what? The best way to ensure a great future for yourself is to do a really good job in your set of responsibilities you have today.
I love the concept of bloom where you're planting. When you think about the PwC Alumni Network engagement, what it's meant for you over the years, has it been valuable? I would love to hear from you just in terms of, how you look at that and the importance of that in terms of your own career.
Enormous pride I have being associated with the firm. And it's been a constant for the duration of my career. It's such wonderful people, so professional, so much insight, but then also just fun and enjoyable to interact with. And so, I would say many times a year I'm interacting with not just people that I've known for years and decades in some cases, but actually also meeting and engaging with new people along the way, and really to a person. I've just enjoyed that network tremendously. And so with the Alumni Network, it's really just an extension of that. That's easier for me to identify people in different places and different industries, and we have that in common. And I just know from experience, be able to forge a great relationship with people through that.
It's one of the networks that I think is so critical when we have people that launch out into careers and progress in new ways with our client base. Thank you for sharing words of wisdom, your career advice for people that are just starting out. Really appreciate the time you took today. Adam, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Lori.